what do you say to that mother or even that father that has been diagnosed with any cancer? Let's just be all inclusive. And they have to tell their children. What do you say to them?
Well, I think the first thing you say when somebody tells me I've had cancer or I've got to get treatments, I ask them, did you talk to your doctor and your oncologist in detail? Did you get information? And did someone go with you? You don't face this by yourself. Take somebody with you. And I ask them, how do you feel about what the doctor said? And always with that is, have you prayed on this topic? Have you thought about it? I said, have you gone into the upper room or have you had that little talk with Jesus? You got to do that, okay? You got to do that. To the child, your mother has a physical problem or your father, you're going to be the biggest support that they need. And even though you may feel bad because your mother or your father is sick, but they need you to talk to them. The most important thing is, please hug them.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Willing to Talk About It. Thank you, Marsha Turner. She's here with us today. I just want to thank you, Marsha. And I tell all my guests, Ms. Turner, it's one thing to send out an invitation, but it's another thing for people to actually show up. And you know about that because I know you talk about in your book, 15 pounds. There's only one you. You talk about when you came out of the room, there was a bunch of people waiting around for you, right?
Yes.
All right. And we're going to get into that book. We're going to get into it. But first, let me just say thank you for coming. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And before we get into it, Marsha, let's lay a little foundation. Where are you originally from?
I was born in New York, but I moved to Baltimore at a very early age and stayed in Baltimore till I was 15 and went back to New York. And that's pretty much where it was, you know. And I finished school in New York, went to LPN school in New York, and then moved back to Baltimore again.
Okay.
And I've been here ever since 1978.
Okay, so you've been on that corridor for quite some time.
Yes.
Okay. So now, was it just you? Or did you have any? Do you have any siblings?
I have a daughter. She was born in '66 in New York, but when I moved back here to Baltimore, I brought her back here with me because I just felt I needed to get out of New York, and I didn't think I could raise my child by myself in New York. So we came back here because I had family and friends here. So It's been good.
Okay, but talk to me a little bit about growing up. Did you have any brothers and sisters?
Yes, I have one brother and one sister. And we grew up in Cherry Hill, and I was the oldest. My sister was 8 years younger, and my brother was 16 years younger.
Oh, wow. So that's big...
Yeah, and that's my baby brother.
Okay.
Everybody thought he was mine, but because I did everything with him. He would only eat for me, so everyone thought he was mine, but he's my baby brother.
Okay. And so what was it like in school? Were you pretty good in school?
I was always a good student in school. The only problem I had was I just talked too much.
Oh, that was my problem.
That was the only
Yeah, that was my problem. Too much. Yeah. My mother used to get those letters sent home that I'd be they call it disrupting the class. Yeah. I talk too
We
much.
just talked too much, and my girlfriend and I got called up. So we wrote notes in our notebook and passed them back and forth, and
Oh
that was to
wow.
cut down.
Okay,
And then
okay,
I would do
okay.
my homework. I would do my homework in school. So when I got home, I didn't have any homework. And my mother and the principal were good friends. And come to find out, I had to stay after school and do my homework in her office.
Oh
Ugh.
wow. Oh wow. Now, let's stay with those teen years for a minute, Miss Turner. Let's stay with those teen years, because something happened with you medically that doesn't always happen with kids. I mean, I had a bunch of allergies. I'll be honest with you, scoliosis, asthma. Couldn't play outside and all these kind of things. But something happened with you when you were a child. Can you tell me about that?
Well, at 14, I had to have my tonsils taken out. And a year later, that's when I felt this lump in my breast. And the doctor just said, well, she's just starting her cycle, so let's see what happens. That was the first time. And we just had to wait and see what happens, okay? And they removed it. And it was a traumatic thing for me, because all I could think of was I was going to die.
Wow.
At such an age. But then they wrapped my arm up and kept it like that for 6 weeks, and I had to have someone carry my books to school. So, I was really feeling special, because the boys were carrying my books and making sure I was home okay. So it was
Right.
it was fun. It was
Okay.
fun, but it was not it was an experience, and you just kind of go along with those things until you see what happens, see what the end is going to be. And everything was fine. So,
Okay. And back then, we're not talking too long ago, but this was kind of new, the breast cancer thing. It was kind of new. It wasn't the yearly checkups and things like that going on the way it is now, the mammograms
right.
and the breast cancer awareness and stuff like that's so nationwide the way it is now. So did you feel confident that everything was going well when you went through the process?
I did. I felt good. And you had never heard of anything like that before. One of my friends had lost their mother, but it wasn't to breast cancer. So, something you never really heard of, you never thought about it, but sooner or later, as you move along through life, you get to know more things and
Right.
hear more things.
Right. Now, I want to touch on something you write in the book. You write a lot of scriptures in the book, and you reference your faith a lot, and we're going to talk about that. I just want to know, because we're here in your teen years, when were you introduced to your faith? How did that come about?
Very early in age, because my mother worked, but she left me with a family during the week, and then I would go home to my mother on the weekends. Well, it got to the point I didn't want to go home on the weekends. I'd rather stay where I was. So she left me there, and we went to a Baptist church here in Baltimore for quite some time. And I remember that and enjoyed that so much. And then when I moved to New York, I got to find me a church to go to that I liked as much as living here. So that's when it started, and it still goes on. It still goes on.
Now, I want to stay right there 1 second, Ms. Turner, because we live in an age right now, you know it, I know it, where the village is so important. And you mentioned your mom would leave you with this family for the week, and then on the weekends you would go back. Did you feel like, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, did you feel like your mom was pushing you off on them?
No, it was just, I knew she wanted someone to take care of me while she worked.
Correct.
And that was good.
Right.
And they were a great family, and they took care of other children. And I stayed in touch with them through the rest of my life until they, passed away.
Right. So they, and what the point I was getting at, and I didn't know this, the point I was getting at was they were a part of your village.
Yeah.
Wow.
They took in over 40 some foster children also.
Oh, okay. That's good stuff right there. That's good stuff. So you got your faith early in your teen years, I would say.
Yes.
Now, did you go through did you go through the first breast cancer bout with them, or were you with your mom?
No, I was with my mom then.
Okay.
I was with my mom then. She had remarried, and I had a new dad and a brother and a sister, and
Okay.
it was a whole new experience. A whole new
Okay.
experience.
Okay. Yeah, you talk about your, I'll say stepdad, but you make it clear that he was more than that.
He's my dad, and he
Right.
lives in Delaware. He's 96 years old,
What?
and he got the first copy of my book.
I
gave
bet.
him the first copy.
I bet he did.
Yeah.
I bet he did. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's great. Now, in your book, you talk about moving forward. So, matter of fact, let's not go there yet. So, moving forward, this happens. You're back and forth to New York. You have Aiden, your daughter, Aiden, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And then, what do you do in between? What how's life progressing along for you?
Well, I graduated from high school, and I always wanted to be a nurse, but I just didn't, to a certain extent, know how to go about it. I was working in a bank, and then the next thing you know, I got a scholarship to a hospital school in Brooklyn and went there for a year. And when I graduated, that's when I moved back to Baltimore, and I went to a hospital here in the neighborhood, and I was there for 22 years.
Wow. So what were you doing at the hospital?
At first, I worked on the psychiatric ward, which I did not like because I didn't like psych when I was in nursing school. I hated it.
Right.
But then they put me on a med-surg floor, and I liked that. Then I went to the emergency room for 10 years, which I loved.
Really?
But if you don't have the right staff to work with you in the emergency room, it's not fun. But we had a great time. And then when the hospital closed, you always say, I will never work such and such. Well, I did. I worked at the Baltimore County Detention Center, which I said, I'll never work in a jail.
Right.
You
were in the detention center?
Fantastic place to work. And it was different because the people there were trying to be on their best behavior until they went to trial. And that's where they stayed until then. And if they did anything wrong, it messed up when they went to trial. That came out that they were not behaving. So, but they were on their best behavior. And I really enjoyed it there until I decided to go back to school and get my RN. And then the company that I was working for, they lost their contract with the jail, and they wouldn't keep any of us from the contract on. So I decided I was going to go back to school. About 2 months later, Miss Turner, can you come back? No.
Yeah.
You didn't keep me. So I gotta go. And they hired someone in my place, and they said, well, can we call you? I said to myself, yeah, you'll call me because I know that person, and she's not going to be there but a couple of months. Sure enough, they called me back. And I said no. And she was gone. And my office was just like I left it. So I knew. But I went to school and got my RN.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back to the school where I got my RN, the community college.
Yeah.
I went back there a couple of years after I graduated, and I've been there ever since 2007.
So you're teaching?
I'm tutoring the nursing students that first come in the first year and the second year, and the math. And I enjoy that. I like when I'm tutoring them and they're just so frightened, because nursing school is frightening when you first get there, but you've got to find your niche and you've got to decide, is this what you really want? Mm-hmm. And somebody told them they can make money being a nurse, but somebody didn't tell them that you got to go to nursing school where it is not fun if you don't know what you're doing. So when they finally get it and the light bulb comes on, Miss Turner, I passed my test, that makes my day.
Wow.
That makes my day.
Wow.
And I've been there ever since.
It sounds like you've been in a place of having to encourage at the detention center, these brothers, these sisters. I'm not sure what the gender makeup was.
It was both, yeah.
It was both, and they're waiting trial. You say they're waiting trial, right?
Right, that's where they come to the detention center.
Yeah,
and then
so
once they go to court, they're out of there.
Yeah, so they're in limbo, but they're holding on. They're holding on hope and faith, and need to be reassured and things like. Some of them have families, and some of them probably
Yeah.
don't. Right.
Right.
Right. So what was that like from just an encouragement standpoint, or were you even allowed to do that?
I could talk to them because I used to pass the medicine out, and I would have to go to each tier and section. And they got to the point they would talk to you sometimes. You know, I would ask them, well, how are you doing? You know, is there anything you need? And they would talk somewhat. And come to find out, I have a girlfriend that I've known since I was a teenager. Her son was there, but she never told me. And he came to the window to get medicine. And I looked at him and I said, what's your name? And he told me. I said, your mother didn't tell me you were here. He said, Aunt Marsha, I don't know what to say. I said, well, you better behave, because now that I know you're in here, I'm going to be watching you.
Right.
I'm going to be watching you. And I have a stepsister. Her son was in there also, which I didn't know because she told my dad not to tell me. But she didn't know that that was where I was working. And we found out. And both of them were in the same cell together. So the officers would tell them, you guys better come down. Your aunt's down here. One of them, I'm not coming down. We tired. Oh no, you better get up and come down here because we're gonna open the door and let her in.
Right.
So it's a good feeling. You know, you in a way you feel for them because they're in there for what they did. You don't know which way it's going until they go to trial, but you just see so many of the young men in there, and some of them silly reasons. One boy told me he killed somebody because they spit on the steps of his home.
My God.
And that really, how can you do that to somebody? But it happens, and it's worse now than then. So it's always. And I thought about one time going back just to pass medicines, but the officers that I knew, Miss Turner, don't come back out here because your crew, nobody works like you and your crew work. Don't come back out here.
Wow.
So I stayed away. But I think about it a lot. I do. And especially now in this day and age with the way things are. You think about that.
I'm sure we'll have to do some more work on that, because you were there for such a time, and as you say, right now across this country, there's so many villages that are broken.
Yes.
Where these situations are being increased, and the number of people coming in there, and like you say, the respect, just because someone spit on the porch. And this is what the conflict resolution is not there, you know?
Yeah.
Back in the day, and I'm 50, but there was a sense of, if I do this, I'm going to get in trouble. Like we knew, like, oh no, I'm going to get in trouble. And so it did cause a little pause, just enough for us not to do it, or enough time to go where somebody would say, hey, come on, man, let's go. But it doesn't seem like that's there anymore.
No.
It's not there anymore. And then so you move on. Now you're teaching these young women, these young men, and encouraging them and giving them guidance to go into nursing.
Yeah. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge. One, because first of all, in their head, most of them are working. They have families, and they have to work. Some of them get financial aid, but to them, the most important thing is, I have to work. It's not that I have homework and stuff to do. I tutor 3 days a week, and for like an hour and a half. Fridays is an open door policy. If you need help, you just come and see me from like 9 to 1. Mm-hmm. I used to tutor on the weekends because there were people that worked during the week that I could log in, go to the school and log in. Then, of course, came Zoom, then I could do that too. Plus I teach them nursing math. So, but now it's, Miss Turner, you can't come on the campus on the weekends. And I look around and I don't see the students coming for tutoring like they did. I had a young lady came to school today. She graduated 2 years ago. She came to bring supplies and stuff because her job where she was working, they were getting rid of stuff and she figured we could use it. So she brought it. She said, I can't believe you're in here by yourself. I said, you can't? She said, we were never in here by ourselves with you. It was always crowded. I said, it's a new day. It's a new age. It's a new age. And I decided, and I don't know, in my crazy little mind, I don't know what I was thinking last semester. I decided I was going to learn how to do medical coding. So if I decide to stop working, or if they don't renew my contract, that's something I can do at home.
Right.
I took 2 classes last semester, did fine. This class this semester is beating me up. But when I tell the students, you have to read something 2 or 3 times before it sinks in. Yes, I'm doing that. But I'm saying, my days that they go to clinic, they're not at school, they go to the clinical site. I'm sitting at my desk doing homework Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. Every day I'm doing homework, and it's wearing me out. But you got to do it,
Right.
Just got to do it.
Right.
So I'm a student myself now, because I got to teach them. They don't know how to read. They don't know how to count.
Wait. Hold on. You ain't talking about high school students now.
Oh, no, these are grown adults. And I have to, first thing I always ask them when they come to me complaining, did you read the book? Well, Miss Turner, I looked at it. No. Did you read the book? Pull your book out. Let's go through this first couple of paragraphs. And that's when I find out they don't know how to read. They don't know, sometimes they don't comprehend what they read. And they don't know how to study. That's the thing. And before math, my first day of math class, here's your multiplication tables. Please learn them. And it's like, I have spent the first couple of weeks teaching math, subtraction, addition of fractions and stuff. That's stuff you should have gotten in high school that you didn't. And now I got to get you up to speed.
Correct.
But it's a challenge. It's a challenge because this day and age, they expect you to give them everything.
Right.
They don't realize that, okay, you failed the test. It wasn't the teacher's fault. It was yours.
Right.
And they have to, when they fail the first test, the first thing they get from the teacher after they review the test is, here is your tutoring paper. You have to see Miss Turner before the next test 3 or 4 times, and she has to sign your paper. So they have to come. Some of them don't come. They don't pass.
Wow.
And they don't pass. And if they fail, they either fail out or they drop out. And then you have to reapply.
Now let me
see that happen.
Of course you do. Let me ask you a question. We're not talking about a $50,000 a year job, correct?
No.
I know we're not.
I work 6 hours a day is what my contract. They renew my contract.
No, I mean for the students.
No.
At the end, they graduate. They're not walking. They're not walking 2 years.
2 years.
You said 2 years?
Yes, it's a 2-year.
Okay, 2-year program. They graduate. They're not walking into a $50,000. They're walking into a little bit more than that, correct?
Yes.
I know.
I didn't. When I went, it wasn't that. It's
when you started back in the day.
Back in the day.
Yeah, I know. We could go there, Miss Turner, because I tell my kids, my first job at 15 was $4.15 an hour. I tell them what. Yeah, so whatever.
Well, I understand because I started at 17 and I only made $90 a week. I was living in New York.
Yeah, that's tough in New York.
$90 a week.
So
now pay rent and everything else.
Oh my God. On $360 something a month. We didn't take out no taxes yet. Wow, that's tough. So at some point though, throughout all your stuff you got going on, through being so busy, you found time to write this book. And before we get into the book, I want to know, how did you come up with the title? I know, but I want to know. I'm an author myself. You and I, you know that.
First I decided I wanted to write the book, but I really didn't know how to go about it.
Okay.
And I went to a African American book festival. There was a lady there. There were a whole lot of authors there. And I said, well, maybe I can talk to somebody and find out just what can I do. And this lady was giving a workshop on how to get started. So I went to her workshop and she had to write on a card, what did you want to write about? What did you want people to know when they started the book? What did you want them to know when they finished? And I wrote and I told her, just what I thought. And you had to leave your contact information on the card. But you were to contact her. If you came to her workshop, she gave you a free consultation at whatever time you could set up. I finally called her. She said, I have been waiting for you to call me. It's been 3 months.
Wow.
And I talked to her and I told her what I wanted to do. And she helped me. We spent a whole year just getting my thoughts on paper. That took a lot. And then once we did that, it was a matter of, what do you want your cover of your book to look like? What do you want it to say? And how do you want to go through this? Tell people. And do you want other people to know? Can they say anything in your book? So I scrounged around and got people to write something in my book. And people I met along my journey wrote in my book, wrote my foreword for my book. Eric Robeson wrote the foreword for my book. I met him on a cruise the year I had my surgery, and we've been in touch ever since. There's different things, And finally, she said, well, what are you going to put on the cover? I said, I don't know. And we went on the computer and we're looking at things, and all of a sudden up popped the cover that's on that book. I said, that's it. That's the one. Wow. And that's how we got it.
That's how it goes. That's how it goes. I know.
Goes.
Now, just sticking with the author piece for a minute before we get into the story, because I always like to know, when did you find time to write? When did you find, or did your mentor help you in that process, or were you writing yourself?
No, she asked me what did I had written part of, because it was from my journal. I started keeping a journal from the day that I was diagnosed.
Okay.
So by the time I got through everything 6 months later, my story was written, but it was a matter of how to put it all together. So she would meet with me once a month. We would meet at Panera Bread. I would send her what I had written, and we would analyze it, break it down, and go through it. And she would look at it, then we would get back together. And that went on for a whole year.
Wow.
Before we finally got it all together.
Okay. And you stayed encouraged.
A lot.
And you stayed encouraged throughout that time. Okay, good,
oh, yes.
good. Now you mentioned you were diagnosed. You were diagnosed with breast cancer, correct?
Yes.
Right. Take me through that, because it wasn't the first time you had been diagnosed you hadn't been diagnosed at 14, 15.
No, they just said it was a cyst, and that was it. They didn't, nothing, no cancer then,
Right.
And then as you got older and I went to the doctors, he would say, Marsha, there's something here. Okay. And I had another lump removed. I want to say in my 30s, there was another one there. Later on down the line, another one. And so at my church, we had an exercise challenge with another church, and I joined. And I said, I can do this. And my church won the challenge. But at the end of the month, I realized I could climb a flight of stairs without being short of breath. So let me keep going. It was only $150 a month. You had to be there at 5:30 in the morning. And I did that because when I joined in that month, the first with the church, it was 5 months later when I felt the lump in my breast. And if I hadn't lost the almost 20 pounds, 15, 20 pounds, I would have never felt it. So that's where the title came from.
15
the 15 pounds. The 15 pounds.
Yeah, but Martha, that's a lot there. I love where this is going. I really do like where this is going, because it's such. So you introduced to church by this family when you're young, and your mama said, go stay with them, not knowing that, but just trusting.
Right.
And they introduce you to the church.
Right.
And from there, you stay within the church, so much so as when you leave them, you look for a church.
Yeah.
And in looking for that church, you come upon challenge. Out of all things, you guys will challenge each other physically, which is great. I mean, I don't know what pastors are going to be listening to this, but they need to start this kind of stuff. I've heard of breast cancer awareness, high blood awareness, diabetes awareness, but this challenge, and you said, you know what? Let me keep doing this thing.
Yes.
And as a result of the church, you were able to feel some abnormal lump on your body.
When I joined, the fellow who was teaching it is a person that was teaching, working along with Ray Lewis and the football players. Okay. And I said, oh, I can do this. Not knowing that man was going to wear us out every morning, 3 days a week, 5:30. Okay. And his goal was, you can do this. And then he would have maybe outside in the park on the weekends, we would meet. And I kept going to him even after my surgery and everything for 5 years. And now his thing with me is, Miss Marsha, you got to keep moving. At this age, you got to keep moving. But the support is still there. I still, when I can go get up now and get to the meeting at 5:30, because you know I can't see in the dark, so I don't go out. Right. But it's there, and it was a good thing. And one of the girls at the church, we were at a meeting a couple months ago, and I hadn't seen her for a long time, and she came running over and to hug me, and she was crying. And the girls asked her, "Why are you crying?" She said, "You don't know how much Miss Marsha inspired me, and I miss seeing her." And the fact that she wrote this book, she said, and she kept me out of trouble too. She would tell me if I was doing something wrong. She said, but I just look at her, and she said, I remember they had her up in the front of the church 3 times doing exercise, and we're sitting there saying, as old as she is, she's up there. What are we doing just sitting here? So it's a big thing, and it's still going on. The class is huge, and they still meet. It's more expensive now. I couldn't afford it, but his thing with me, Miss Marsha, you're my other mother. I can't take money from you for this class. I just want you to come. You got to keep moving. And I'm trying. I'm trying.
Wow. Let's go back a little bit, Miss Turner. In chapter 4, chapter 4 is titled, Let's Start the Conversation. So you're diagnosed. It's a place you've been somewhat before. In that conversation, you start with your daughter. Talk to me a little bit about that.
That was rough because it's just the 2 of us, and for me to have to tell her this, and I told her I had to go down to the hospital. I said, can you go with me, because they want to run some tests? And she said, what's wrong? And I said, I don't know. I didn't tell her. Yes, I did know, but I didn't want to tell her exactly until we had all the tests. So when she went with me, and they sent me for a special scan or something, and then the doctor said, when you finish, come see me. And she looked at me, and I said, we got to go upstairs. And she's looking at me and saying, for what? And I still didn't tell her. And it wasn't until we got into the room with the doctors that they told her what they found, and we're going to have to do surgery. And as time went on, I was like, I don't believe this is happening to me. But okay, Lord, we got to get through this. And I just need her not to worry, because it's just the 2 of us, So I wasn't scared of having cancer. I was worried to the point of how was it going to affect she and I. That was the thing, And we had to call my dad and my girlfriends, and everybody kind of rallied around. And that was the most important thing. My girlfriend that I had been friends with since high school came down from New York and stayed with me for the 2 weeks. And she came down the Saturday before the surgery, and she stayed until the doctor told me I could go back to work, and she left that week. But everybody was there, you know. And when they did the surgery, my dad came down. I was so surprised to see him. He drove down from Delaware. And I said, well, you know, you want to stay at my apartment across, because it was across the street from the hospital? No, we're going to go back home. He stayed till after the surgery, and he talked to the surgeon, and he told him, I've got Marsha. And I knew the surgeon because we had worked many years together. And he said, told my dad, I got her, and I'm going to make sure she's okay and send her back to you. And that was it. So it's a very frightening experience. And the only thing that upset my daughter, after I started the chemo, they told me I would lose my hair. I had hair, but I didn't have all of this. Okay. This is just almost 3 years worth of growth. So,
wow.
When I had my first chemo, 2 weeks later, I was going on a cruise. I went to brush my hair, and my hair was coming out. So I went to barbershop, told them, take it off because it's going to come out. I wasn't scared about that. I felt like, oh, this is great. The medicine is working. My hair is coming out. That's the way I looked at it. I was to meet my daughter and one of her friends for dinner, and I didn't tell her about my hair. So when she walked in and saw me, the look on her face, and she didn't say anything. And she said, Mom, when did your hair? I said, today. And then she didn't tell me until a couple of months later. She said she went home and cried all that night. I said, why didn't you call me? Because I didn't want to worry you. I said, you're not worrying me. We got to share this together, you know? But that was the worst thing for her. And other than when I had the surgery, she spent the night in the hospital with me. And everybody asked, because they kept me overnight, and everybody asked her, well, how's your mother? She said she's doing fine. I'm really not too sure what's going on, but she's doing fine, you know, because you have things that you have to do that night after surgery. And she got up with me and everything, you know. So it was a lot on her. It was a lot. And that's the way it is. And she has what the gastroparesis, which where your stomach and your intestines don't pump your food. And she's had this now for 10 years, and she's been in and out of the hospital, numerous things. And she told me this year, because she was in the hospital for almost 2 weeks, she's been to the other side. And she said, I have no problem with going back. She said, but I don't want you to worry. I said, okay, what else can I say? Okay, that's the way you feel about it. And then every once in a while, because she gets so sick, she says, I'm tired of this. I could go to the other side anytime now. I'm saying, okay, but in my heart, I'm saying, yeah, I understand how you're feeling, but it's not your time yet. God is going to let you know when it's time. He's going to let you know. So, but and I think the other thing is I had that one removed. Every year afterwards, you got to get a checkup. You got to go back and be checked up, you know, and the person who was my oncologist is still my doctor today. So I see him every year to get my referral to go get my mammogram. And he tells me, he said, you know, I'm just so happy when I see you. I said, why? You are the only person that when I talk to people after they have their surgery and I said, you need to watch your diet and exercise and everything. He said, you did everything that I said and you're still doing it. He said, you're not exercising as much, but you're still doing it. I said, I have no choice. I have no choice. I have to, because I'm not going to give in to that. I'm not. And I've met so many other survivors along the way. You know, we've kept in touch. Some of them have passed. I met a girl at a funeral that I saw she had on the elastic sleeve, and I approached her. And we've been talking ever since. But you just meet people, you know, and every year at my church, they have something special for the breast cancer patients. It's a big thing, but it's a frightening thing. Even though it's 10 years for me, every time I go to get a mammogram, I'm saying, okay, Lord, we're not having any problems. Okay. We're not having any problems. And a couple months ago, I had pneumonia and they took a chest x-ray and the doctor said, well, I want you to go for a CAT scan because you have some nodules on your lungs. I said, well, I want you to check your glasses because there's nothing on my lungs and we're not having any problems, okay? And I did. I went and had it done. When they talked to the specialist, he said, you've had these for a long time because they're on your x-rays. We can see them. They're not growing. They're not going anywhere. So don't worry about them. I told him, thank you. I said to tell her, go get her glasses changed so she don't see anything on my head anymore.
Yeah. Wow.
But I can't say that I was frightened. I was worried, but I wasn't going to let that fear take hold of me. I just couldn't let it do that. I couldn't. And I think the fact that my surgeon and the oncologist, once they explained the degree of the condition, how the centimeters and how many, what stage and everything and what I would have to go through. And it just didn't make me fearful. It was like, okay, I got to go through this. Let's do this. Okay. And I only had to have 4 rounds of chemo. I didn't have to have any radiation or nothing. And I just felt so blessed and so happy. And if all I had to lose was my hair, then, hey, that was it. And the only problem I had, my teeth hurt. When I got chemo, my teeth would hurt me so bad. And I told my oncologist, there's something wrong. My teeth hurt. Marsha, go get some Claritin. I said, well, I do have some here and I have allergy. Take it. It did something. Stop that. And I have someone that I talked to long distance. And she told me her brother was having chemo. She said, Marsha, he's complaining about his teeth hurt. Take the Claritin. So it's those little things that you pick up along the way that I've never had nobody else say anything about it. But you say it to me, I'm going to tell you, take the Claritin. So it's an experience.
Right.
And it made me think of people with other conditions that are worse than what mine was. That's the other thing. How do they cope? Or if the condition comes back and then you got to go through this again, and what are you going to do? On Facebook, there's a group called Hope, and you just join in. You can tell about who you are and what has happened to you. People come on there to ask for prayer. They tell you what has happened, that they are back with problems again, and they're just hoping and praying. And it just makes you be so thankful that you went through I went through what I did, and that's over for me for now. And at this age, I'm thankful. I am so thankful.
Have you always been so optimistic in situations? Sometimes we go through things and it kind of helps us exercise that optimism. It helps us exercise that positivity. So do you feel like somehow like your life kind of led up to, okay, this is just another thing?
I think so. As I was getting older, and I would always say to my daughter, you sit back, listen to what God is telling you, even if you don't hear him. Sit back, be quiet, because he's going to show you where you got to go. And my prayer through all of this was, no weapon shall be formed against me, and I'm going to be okay. Okay. It's, I don't know. I had a friend tell me a couple of years ago, Marsha, I have known you since you were 12 years old. I don't care what happens to you. We seem to bounce. And I told him 2 weeks, you're going to be big student. And I'll stop. I said, well, if I had known what I was getting into with this medical code class, I wouldn't have never done this. I really wouldn't. I really wouldn't have. But you got to do what you got to do.
Ms. Turner, I want to read something that your daughter writes in the book, and I encourage everybody to get this book. We're definitely not going to give it all to you here, but we give you a great piece. Ms. Turner really poured her heart out in this book. It's well thought out. 10 chapters, a lot here, a whole lot here for anybody that's going through a diagnosis or anybody that you know is going through one. I definitely encourage you to get this book, especially if you have children and you don't know how to explain it to them. You don't know how to confront them. It's just a frightening thing. I want to share something with you before I read this, that your daughter wrote. My mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I was so afraid of it. I distanced myself, Miss Turner. I distanced myself. I just didn't want to think of it. I didn't want to think of it without my mom. And that was some years ago. That was over 20 years ago, actually. So she's a survivor. And when I read this here, it's just a segment of what your daughter writes. And I'd like to read it. And it reads, as we talked to the radiologist, all I could say was, please, God, cure my mother. I cannot imagine life without her. Through the course of her treatments, she would meet people in the same situation, some worse than others. The whole key to her getting better was the positive attitude and always refusing to give in to this awful disease. Being positive and staying focused is the key to it all. May she continue to do well, even though she has some residual side effects. My mom is still here with me. With love, your princess, Aiden. So I asked you the question, Miss Turner, because you mentioned to me, and I'm somehow asking my mom, and I told her I was going to be talking to you tonight, and I had never really had the conversation of what she went through. I just know she got over it.
Yes.
I just know she got over it. All right? It's 20 years ago. So I asked you the question, your fight, because you said this, you said you weren't afraid for yourself, but you were afraid for her.
Yeah.
That was your fight. So when she wrote that, was that the first time you heard that when you got ready to write this book?
When I was in the process of writing it and asking if the people want to make say anything.
Yes.
And I didn't see what she had written. I saw it when the book was in rough draft. I didn't see it before then. So I understand. And like I said, now with her being sick, she has this little habit of when she doesn't feel well, she don't talk. She'll go 3 or 4 days and I don't hear from her. It used to drive me crazy because I didn't know. Well, it got to the point I have these things on my phone, these little wellness check cartoons and stuff. After the 4th day, I send one to her and she will respond. She has one girlfriend that tells her, I've been calling you and calling you. She said, you don't call nobody. She said, I don't even talk to my mother when I don't feel well. She said, so don't worry me. And I understand that. But I never felt that bad that I didn't want to talk to somebody. And like I'm saying, when I had chemo, I didn't have any of the side effects that people get from chemo. I would go for my treatment. They would give you medicine to make you sleepy and stuff. And I take that. I put on my headphones with my Frankie Beverly music. Jeffrey Osborne.
Jeffrey Osborne. I know you shot. Hey, listen, you and Jeffrey Osborne dancing in this book. I see that. You got some infatuation with Jeffrey Osborne.
Yes. And whenever he's in town or whenever I go to see him, I always send him flowers. I always do that. And I send yellow because yellow is for remembrance. I want him to know. And I took my daughter on a cruise and he was on the cruise and she got to meet him. And he went to shake her hand and she said, I can't shake your hand. My mother loves you too much. And she had to hug him. And I have pictures. And I gave him flowers. We were someplace at a conference and he was outside just standing there by himself. And I walked up to him with some flowers. And this lady said, I think this lady knows you. And he looked at me. He said, yes, she does. And gave him the flowers. If I can't get to him, he was here and I couldn't get there, I sent them. It's just something. And the only other person is the guys in the Manhattans. That Gerald Austin, they're just good.
Right.
And like I said, I put them on the cruise and I've been on 4 or 5 cruises and they've been on there. So those were the people, especially Eric Roberson And I really, he made it a point for when the American Cancer Society had a conference in Atlantic City. He made sure that I had seats for that. And the after party with Lettucey and Belial and Eric and Tank. I didn't know, have a clue who Tank was. Didn't know nothing about Tank until that night of that concert.
Right.
And everybody was in there saying, take your shirt off, take your shirt off. And he said, well, y'all not throwing any money up here, so I'm not taking off my shirt. And the room got quiet. And I stood up, pulled $20 out of my pocket with this money. And he just sat there looking at me, and he was laughing. He couldn't stop laughing. Yeah. And after the concert, the photographer said, I want you to stand in front of the big poster. I want your picture. And I'm standing there, and I feel somebody come up with heat and hug me from behind. And I said, who is this on my back that I didn't ask you to touch me? Right. And out the corner of my eye, I saw it was Tank. And we got to talk, and I have never been close enough to him ever again since then. I have that picture in my phone. Wow. But it was such an experience, and to meet people there. And whenever I go on the cruise, if Eric is there, well, he's always there, he tells people about me and how when you meet people on a cruise, you really got to talk to people because you don't know what people are going through. Right. He said, but I want y'all to meet my friend Marsha. I don't care wherever I see him, at a concert, but I want y'all to meet my friend Marsha. Right. But it's one of those things that you just carry this with you for the rest of your life. It's not a stigma. It's a badge. To me, it's like a badge of honor or something. You carry it with you. You know, you're a survivor. You've made it. Now you got to reach back because there's some others coming along that may not make it, you know? And that's the point.
And that's my question, Martha. I have a question for you. What do you say, two-part question, because this is very important. And I didn't know if I would stay here this long, and I didn't intend to stay here this long.
It's okay.
And I'm going to move. I'm going to get you out of here. What do you say to that mother or even that father that has been diagnosed with any cancer? Let's just be all inclusive. And they have to tell their children. What do you say to them? And then that's the first question. And the second question is, you may not be able to answer this. What do you say to that child?
Well, I think the first thing you say when somebody tells me I've had cancer or I've got to get treatments, I ask them, did you talk to your doctor and your oncologist in detail? Did you get information? And did someone go with you? You don't face this by yourself. Take somebody with you. And I asked them, how do you feel about what the doctor said? And always with that is, have you prayed on this topic? Have you thought about it? I said, have you gone into the upper room or have you had that little talk with Jesus? Got to do that, okay? You got to do that. To the child, your mother has a physical problem or your father, you're going to be the biggest support that they need. And even though you may feel bad because your mother or your father is sick, but they need you to talk to them. The most important thing is, please hug them. Please hug them. Please talk to them. And let them know how you feel that they don't feel well, or that they're sick, or that there's something going on that you don't. And ask questions. Always ask, you know. And I usually give my phone number to anybody that has approached me, because it got to the point at church, once they knew, somebody would tell, Marsha, can you talk to my cousin? Can you talk to this? Or one of the ushers in the church, I need to talk to you. And when they tell me that, I know what's coming. So you got to realize that you're setting an example, but it's reinforcing what you were feeling and how it makes you feel and how you move on, you know? That's the thing. And then when you get to the point that they don't make it. I had a girlfriend, she was diagnosed. I was going with her, for her to get her treatments and stuff. not knowing that a couple of months it would be my turn. And she went with me, but she didn't make it. And it wiped me out. It wiped me out to see her going through and knowing that I was going through, but she was still suffering all the way up until she passed. It bothered me. And I wanted to know, and I asked the question, what makes my case any different than hers? And it was, it's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. You got to talk. You got to hug. You got to pray. You got to do all of that.
I want to read something here. It says from James and Rosalind White. You know who those people are?
It's my dad and his new wife. Okay.
Okay. This is in your book.
He remarried. He and my mom were married for almost 50 years. And 2 years after my mom passed, he said, "Do you think it's too soon for me to get married?" I said, "No, because I come home every 6 weeks to check on you, that you keep an immaculate house. But your refrigerator got green stuff growing in it. What is going on in there?
Oh, man.
You need to remarry, okay?" And she's my age. And he's 96 and she's my age. And they're fine. But he was the one that got the first copy, and he has been my dad since I was 8 years old.
And he had this to say. This is just a part of it. I'm not reading the whole thing. For those of you that have not gotten the book, you still need to go get it. This is just a piece of what he wrote. Okay. I have heard of people putting their complete trust in God's hands, but I have never witnessed it. This was a first. Martha's faith was strong and evident, and it carried her through the surgery and after. Thank God. I thought Marsha was remarkable, and that was 4 years ago. I still talk about Marsha's attitude and what I experienced watching her, which was true faith in action. What did that mean to you, Miss Turner?
First of all, coming from my dad, I didn't know that he was watching me that hard. I didn't know that. He's always been there, kind of quiet. But to me, that let me in on the type of person he really truly is. And I until I saw, because when I asked him to write something, I didn't see it right away. And I can't remember how I got it, but it was like I say, I didn't see it until all of the things that people wrote, I gave to Jackie and was all put so that it would read as it wasn't the finished product. It was still being written, so I was shocked. I was shocked. It really was.
Wow. Yeah, that's great because my grandmother, she just passed away last year. She was 96.
That's so hard.
And she was also a breast cancer survivor. And she had got diagnosed with breast cancer in her 80s, late 80s. So that was great that she survived that. She survived that.
Yeah. At 80, yeah.
Yeah. In chapter 6, Miss Turner, you talk about gathering information and getting ready. Almost like a soldier going to battle. What was your mindset then?
I figured, other than to work in the hospital, I had never taken care of anybody with breast cancer. Other than when I was in LPN school in 77, I had a lady who, she was an elderly woman, kind of heavy set. She had fallen at church and she hit her breast. And when I got her, she had this big sore here. And they were going to talk to her and tell her that it was cancerous and she was going to lose her breast. But she was just my patient for that day. So I never knew what happened to her. But I felt I needed to know what was going to go on with me. I had taken care of 2 people when I worked at Walter Reed, 2 young fellows who had cancer of the testicles, and that's a whole different bag. But I'm looking at them, they're 20 some years old, played for Army, Navy, whatever. I didn't know anything. I knew how to run the chemo. I knew how to do the medicine. I knew how to keep them from vomiting and talk to them and everything. But actually for me, I need to know what's going on here. And I, looked up everything I could possibly find out. And then once I knew who my surgeon was going to be, and he was the one that referred me to the oncologist. So that put my mind at ease too. So you got to know who's going to be working on you, who's in your corner. You got to know what is going on. And don't just let people say, okay, well, we're going to take care of this. I need you to tell me what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much where it is,
Right. And in saying that, there may be a young individual out there, or maybe even an older individual that's kind of shutting people out, and they're saying, you know what, I don't want to tell them what's going on, and you know how they are, and we don't really get along like that, and they never really been there for me, and they don't like who I married, and you remember that time at the cookout. What do you say to that person? Because you mentioned support, you talk about support, you really lay on it heavily. What do you say to that person right there? Is this the time for that?
I think the main thing that I think about, my mother was a person who held grudges. And she cut off her best friend for years, but friends since high school, she cut her off because she thought she had said something to my stepfather. I could not imagine her not talking to her. My thing is, whatever these people, these feelings you have and stuff about them, it don't matter. Because when you're flat on your back and you're in that bed and you can't lift your hand or you can't do for yourself, you're going to need them. And you may not need them, but they may need you another day. So whatever's going on with you, sit down and talk it out and work it out. Then there's a time you got to realize there may be some people in your life you just got to let go. They just got to let them go. They're not there for you, okay? And this is a time when you're going to find out who your friends are. This is when you find out who your friends are. Because you're going to need somebody to go with you when you get your treatment. Somebody's got to drive you back and forth. Somebody's got to fix your food. Somebody got to help you get dressed and everything. Somebody got to help you clean up your house. So being sick is a time for you. If you don't get along with them, let's sit down and talk, okay? You can't say but so much, and you can't hurt them because you're sitting there bandaged up and not feeling too well, but y'all can talk. But my thing is, don't let the sun go down or days go by and you don't talk and figure things out. And whatever they were mad about, it don't matter because it's over and done with.
Right.
Over and done with.
Right. You talk about the after the surgery, and now you're getting on, and you talk about that as it's just so upbeat. You say, let's keep it moving.
Let's keep it moving.
Let's keep it moving. Almost like a song, right? Like a Jeffrey Osborne song. It's some of them songs.
Keep it moving.
So
and Monty, my exercise person, Miss Marsha, just please, at your age and stage, like, please keep moving. That's all I got to do. Keep moving.
Let's keep it moving. So
keep it moving.
Talk to me about that a little bit on the keep it moving side for that person that has been through this, that feels a little overwhelmed by what they just went through. Encourage them, get them off the couch, get them to get back into the rhythm of life.
You have to realize you have made it through the worst situation possibly in your life. God has left you here. What are you here for? What do you want to do for you? What were you planning on doing for you before you got this diagnosis? Let's move to that point. Because life will go on. Whether you've been diagnosed and, it's 10 years, or if you're still going through treatments and stuff, life is going to go on until God says that's it. So, but you got to decide which way you're going to go. You're going to keep moving or you're going to sit. And if you sit, you're making things worse for yourself. You got to keep moving, okay? And it's, for me right now, moving is my thing. I got to keep moving because I don't roller skate or dance anymore. I don't go out at night. I can't see to drive, but I do exercise here at home I have the Burn Along app on my computer. I do try to get up and do something in the morning. Some mornings I'm saying I don't feel like it. My knees I had my knees injected over a year ago with the gel, and they're doing fine. So that's not an excuse anymore. My knees are, no, you can't say that no more. You got to keep moving.
Right.
And I have, now that it's light, when I get up in the morning, when I want my way to work, I walk in the parking lot where I live. I go around a couple of times. When I come home, I walk a couple of times. So you have to keep moving. But some days when I get in here, I leave work between 4 and 5 because I'm sitting there doing that medical coding homework. When I get here, within the hour, I am washed up in my pajamas, got my little bit of dinner, and I sat down. And I'm saying, you got to get up. No, I said, nuh-uh. You moved all day. You've been here all day. Sit down. You have to rest too. And that's the other thing I think that has happened with me over a period of time. My sleeping habits changed, and that happens as you get older. They say older people don't sleep as much. They may not sleep as much, but God darn it, we have it. You may have insomnia. You can't go to sleep. I would get up in the middle of the night, watch television, do homework, plan things for my students for the next day.
Right.
Then finally, 5 o'clock, I'm so sleepy. And I would go to sleep and wake up in time to go to work. And I am working on a second book. I'm not as tight with it as I was with that one. I want it to be about 10 years have gone by. What are we doing now?
Wow.
And I just got to get it finished. And the same person who helped me, she sent me a message over the weekend. Where are we in this process? I said, oh gosh, she's going to be after me again. It's a lot.
You mentioned you're writing again, and you mentioned you started journaling when this situation came about. Do you think that it's easier now and that everyone has a story or a book inside of them?
Yes, everybody does. Everybody does. But it's a matter of, do you want to tell it? Do you want to let it out? Or do you feel your thoughts or whatever going to help somebody? And it may not help nobody. Just to write the journal is for you. It's for you. And if you go back and look at what you wrote a year ago or 2 years ago, you'll be surprised where your thinking is. So my book now is what has happened to me in the past 10 years. That's another experience.
Right. Some more good stuff. Some of it, yeah. Some of it's been a little rough, but you got to keep moving. Right. In chapter 9, and we're gonna get you out of here. I promise I'm gonna get you out of here, Miss Turner, in enough time. In the next 15 minutes. I'm gonna get you out of here in 15 minutes. Is that okay with you?
It's all right with me.
Okay. But you're just blessing me so much. You're helping me have a conversation with my mom that I will have, that I have not had.
Well, tell her.
Okay.
I say congratulations. Please tell her.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You talk about survivorship mode. And so often I think that in our culture, we operate in survivorship mode even when nothing has actually happened, as such as what you have. What is the difference now? What is the difference now? Survivorship mode. What do you, without giving too much away from the book, I don't want them to get too much of this, but what do you go into that a little bit?
I think survivorship now is, I've been diagnosed, I've had my treatments, and we're finished. Now, like I said, what are you going to do with the rest of your time? What were you planning on doing before you got sick? Let's move into that. Can you keep doing it? My goal was, okay, I've finished, I've had my treatments. I need to be able to go out dancing and put my roller skates on. And I need to be able to do that without being scared. of falling or having somebody bump into you or anything like that. Okay. So I think survivorship is you're ready to live. You're ready to go on with whatever plans you had before you got sick. Let's pull that up. Let's keep on trying to do. And if there's things that you want to do it. I always say time and life are not promised. They're not.
Mm-hmm.
And in this day and age, they're really not promised.
Mm.
And to me right now, because of the way the treatments are and the screenings and things, this is nothing to slow you down. This is not. Now, I know there are people that get things worse. They get different type of cancers and stuff that are worse. But you will find, I think, when you talk to most people, they have such an outlook of like they're not going to let this get them down. I look at Michael Strahan's daughter. She's just had these brain surgeries. That girl she is smiling. She is moving on. And she's young. And then you see the kids on TV at St. Jude's Hospital. That blows my mind to see those children sick and those parents that have to deal with that. And some of them are not going to make it out of there.
Mm.
But you just got to say, the Lord has blessed me. Now, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with this blessing? What was I doing with before? You got to come on. You got to come on. And when I came back to work, I had only been out 2 weeks. What are you doing back here? Well, I got things to do. Why am I going to be sitting home? And that's where I am.
How important, Miss Turner, is early detection? Because I know you mentioned that if you weren't working out, you may have not found that. But so it leads me to ask the question: were you having yearly mammograms?
Yes, I was. And that came, and it wasn't one lump. I had 3, but they were almost all right together. Okay. So when I went the year before, they weren't there. But when I went this time, it was.
That's key. That's key. Let me stay there right there. So you keep bringing me into it. I'm trying to get you out of here. You keep pulling me back, Miss Turner. You doing that. And the reason why I say that is because I'm 50. I get a physical twice a year. Insurance says once a year. My thing is, well, if I go in December and something happens in March, that means this thing got 9-10 months ahead of me. So my question to you is, when were you supposed to go for your yearly physical when you felt this lump?
I usually always set my physical things on holidays. Easter was my time. Springtime was my time to get my mammogram. Okay. So I had it the spring, but when I felt this lump, it was time for my other mammogram. And when I went, I felt the lump, but I was also due for a mammogram. So when I went, there it was.
So you caught it early.
Yeah, it was early, but there were 3 lumps that were there that had been formed within a year.
Wow.
So you got to, and breast cancer is, you can do that. But when I had to speak at the church about, on a breast cancer Sunday and, about screening and things. And my final comment was, and ladies, take your husband, your boyfriend, or whoever by the hand and tell him, don't wait till he's 50 or 40. He needs to go get checked. And if he says he's not going, my comment was, there will be no wifely duties till you go, okay? That was my comment.
You're going to cut him off.
Because I wanted them to know the importance of getting that physical done at an early age. And we looked at the Black Panther. That boy been sick for a long time and suffering.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there are people that are in their 20s that need to have that exam.
Mm-hmm. Prostate,
Oh, yes.
colonoscopies. We can go on, and you were in the medical
Yes, we
field.
can. Yes,
Yeah,
we
can
can.
go on and on. I'm not gonna do it to you though, Miss Turner. I'm not gonna do it to you. I'm gonna
But
get you out of here. I promise you I am. But
I
the
want
last thing,
my brothers need to make sure.
you got to do it because again, like you say, like I said, I go twice a year. I go for blood work, physicals. I go twice a year. And it doesn't bother me if they say, well, the insurance doesn't cover it, that's fine. It's only like $150, $100 and something dollars you pay for it, $220 the most, depending on what you're getting. The blood work tells a lot.
It does.
It tells you that something is going on. Now we need to dig a little further, but there's something is going on. Something ain't right. In my chart and all these things, I love this. I love that you allowed yourself to be available and you didn't think of it as robbery of your time in this hour to come here and speak with us. And I really do. And then you talk about in your final chapter, but not your final writing of your book, you talk about activities to occupy your mind. And you include so much. You include a lot of writing, you include reading, and you include eating. And you've talked about it earlier. How important is that?
Well, I think with the eating, because of Monty, the guy that I do my exercise class with, he is gung-ho with you eat properly, exercise, drink your water. All those things go together. And I am still working on my eating as far as he is concerned, about now it's a matter of what foods cause inflammation. Your knees hurt, this hurts. What are you doing? Okay. What foods can I eat now that I know I need to stop? How am I planning my meals? And here's a big one on, you got to plan your meals. On the weekends, plan your meal out for the week. Do your meal planning. Put it in container. No, I can't do that. I may be able to plan my breakfast meals, but I can't plan every day, pick it in the refrigerator. I got to do it day by day. But you realize how much food is important, but not to the point where you're going to overindulge yourself and not pay attention to your blood work. How much salt are you eating? What meats are you eating? What lunch meat are you eating that you shouldn't be eating? Those kind of things. And when I see my oncologist, he says, first of all, he'll tell me, your weight is still consistent, but then it'll go down. Then you right back here. But I'm just so happy that you keep moving and doing what we started talking about in 2012. We're still there. And that's important. It's important. And now with the price of stuff, I've changed my whole diet a whole lot now. Whole lot.
Look, that's one reason to make you get off of it, right?
Changed it a lot.
Yeah.
Price of gas went up on the car. Go to market twice a month now. That's it.
I've given some excerpts from a few people, and you've mentioned him quite some time. You've mentioned him a couple times here. Monty Sanders, owner and operator of Optimum Fitness. He writes in this book.
He was the person that made the church challenge.
Right.
He and my pastor were good friends, and they decided we needed a church challenge.
And I'm going to have to do something to get him on here because he talks a lot about the things that we need to hear. Okay?
Yes, he does.
We need to hear. But I want to mention something that he writes in your book. Just as a piece of it. This is not the whole piece. You got to go buy the book to get the whole piece. And he writes here, he says, today she is cancer-free and is the role model for hundreds of women across the DMV. That's DC, Maryland, and the Virginia area. To this day, she has not stopped working, and through her, others find strength to press forward. I'm blessed to play a small role in her success. Her contagious spirit, effort, and attitude has even inspired some of my professional NFL athletes and countless women that work out with her weekly.
That's Monty.
What did it mean for you in your story and the decision that you made, because you could have kept it to yourself, Miss Turner. And the decision that you made, and we're transitioning into the conclusion. We're closing now. We're closing. As the preacher say, we're about to close. What are you most, that leads me to ask the question, what are you most passionate about now?
Now, I'm still passionate about helping other cancer patients go through. Things have happened in the past, I won't say in these 10 years, but most in the past 3 years, where I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to go nowhere. I don't want to do nothing. I just need to do whatever I'm going to do. To get to work every day, come home. Now is get to work every day, come home, and do this homework with this medical coding class, which is driving me crazy. Okay.
You're going to get through it.
Oh, gracious. And to try and do whatever exercises I can do on my own, because I can't get to Monty's class right now. So those are my passionate things. I am coming out of the shell a little bit more, but not too far. And as Monty told me about a month ago, he does a little meditation thing on Sunday mornings from 8:30 to 9 o'clock. He gives out little things. And one thing he said to me, Miss Marsha, you know what I noticed about you here lately? He said, it's like, you don't need to be around a whole lot of people. And I'm trying to figure out, how did he get to that? One day I'm going to ask him, how did he figure that out? Because I don't. And things have happened in the past couple of years that have pulled me back. And I don't, and I can come home and I can be in my apartment all weekend long. Nobody calls, the phone don't ring, don't nobody come to visit, where before it was just like running water. Now, when I come in here, hello, I'm home. And nobody here but me, but I'm home.
Right.
And the fact that you can sit, listen to Jeffrey or anybody else you want to listen to.
Yeah,
and you don't
Michael Jackson.
About
you mentioned Michael Jackson in the book too.
Yeah, oh yeah. There are a couple of things about Michael in there, but it's a whole different bag at this age and stage of my life. And I mean, I'll be 79 in July, so it's a whole new bag.
Y'all see that? I wasn't going to ask her. I wanted y'all to keep guessing. This young lady right here, before you, will be 79 in July 2024. This is where we're at. This is where we're at with this thing.
When I lost my hair, I kept that little afro up until almost July, almost 3 years ago. My daughter said, "Ma, why don't you get a twist or something?" I said, "Well, we'll try it. It'll be 3 years this July." And I have all this hair, and everybody that I haven't seen in the past 3 foot. Miss Marsha, I had a student walk up at me today. She hadn't seen me since 2019. Miss Marsha, I didn't know that was you with all that hair. You had hair before, but I didn't know. I said, I'm glad you did.
Now, Miss Turner, I want to ask you, when you're not encouraging and when you're not teaching and when you're not studying, what does Miss Turner do for herself?
Miss Turner watch Family Feud, Jeopardy. I watch television. I watch a couple of things. I don't get attached to series, those movies and stuff on TV. I watch whatever I want to watch. I listen to, there's an app on your phone, the Mix, MIXLR Mix. When you join that, they have different types of music and stuff and poetry on it. You can click on to anybody all day long. And I listen to, there's a guy, he plays jazz, followed up by gospel music 1 or 2 days a week. Like he's on tonight. And I told him, I got something to do tonight. I won't log in until 9 o'clock. But when he knows when I log in, I'll say, okay, I'm chilling out now. And that means I'm going to fall asleep while I'm listening to you. So I won't hear all of the program, but you can go back the next day and pull it up. And he knows I love Jeffrey. He will play Jeffrey. And I will, when I'm at work and doing my work in the school bus, noting the students in my room, I've got Jeffrey on. I've got Frankie Beverly on.
Right.
I'm chilling. It makes me relax and work. And my music is my thing. There is a radio station that we used to listen to when I lived in New York, WBGR. It's out of Jersey with a young guy, Felix. He plays old music on Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 4. And I sit here and do my homework with that.
Wow.
Music is for me, it's medicine for my soul. It calms me down. It keeps me focused. I love my music. And my daughter will say, she'll hear something and she'll say, my mother used to play that music all the time.
Yeah. That's what I say about my dad, boy. My dad used to have some stuff going. Now, look. See, you keep pulling me in, but I'm gonna stick. I'm gonna be disciplined and get you out of here. I'm gonna do it. So, but I want to know, because you talked about music. Now I'm really wondering, like, how far do you go? How wide is your genre? Do you venture off into the Lauryn Hills and the Beyoncés and the?
Not too much. I love Lettucey. I don't do very little hip hop. I'm sorry, I can't get it. Okay. I love my music to dance to. I used to go to dance competitions across the United States. Love them.
What? Is that the line dancing? You mean?
No, I don't like line dancing. I love stepping. I love ballroom dancing. In the DMV we do hand dance and ballroom in the bar. Right. I love those. I took classes. I love them. And the fact that I don't do that now, that was another shock to my system. You can't go out and do those things anymore. You just can't. But the main thing, I had just had my outline of my foot done and sent to Virginia and had my skates cut to my foot. And I think I've had them on 3 times. The shape of my foot has changed, so I can't get my foot in my skates. So I gotta pay $356. His skates sitting here looking at me, and I look at them every day.
What?
And I can't skate. I used to put them on and sit and listen to the music. Just sit and put my foot in the skate. Just sit.
Wow.
But I don't go out in the dark. I don't. And they said, well, you can come and sit and listen to the music. No, I can listen to my music at home.
Right.
In my pajamas, I can sit and listen to my music.
Wow.
So that's what I do. I try to write a little bit, but it's not coming like it did with that book. I don't know what the reason is. Part of it, I think, is because what I'm trying to say to cover these past 10 years is not coming out like I wanted to. So I got to.
You're a writer. We'll talk. We're definitely going to talk some more, because, like I say, this space of writing is so, it's just different. It's just different. You can do a lot of things. A lot of things can come easy to you, but writing, somehow there's blockage and there's all kinds of times, and those times change, and they're weird hours and things like that. Things like that. But let me ask you this, Ms. Turner. I know your faith, and I believe your faith, and I trust that your faith has gotten you through. What is one of your favorite scriptures?
Psalm 139. Psalm 139. God knows me. He knew me when I was in my mother's womb. And he knows me.
Wow.
He knows me.
Wow.
That is it. And then back to, no weapon formed. That's it.
Wow. That's good stuff. I think I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, because life is life and it does what it does. We've just talked about something that has affected, at this point, depending on how old you are, someone we know.
Yeah.
Some of us know someone that has made it through. Some of us know someone that has not. You are one of the rare ones known to the world as a cancer survivor.
Yep.
A day, a month is celebrated. People wear pink. I wore pink socks on the sideline as a football coach. Every game we played in that month was representative of breast cancer survivors, 2 of which, and more, are in my family, but 2 very close to me, my mother and my grandmother, who Passed on now. Passed on now. What do you say as a prayer to a cancer, someone going through right now that doesn't know God as their personal savior, but they just want to be encouraged? What do you say to them that they should say at least every night, or when they get weak, or when they get low? What do you say to them, Ms. Turner? And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but this is a rare place. Not everybody is in this situation or has been in this situation. What do you say that they should say? At least say this to yourself.
I think I would say for me, thank you, God, for what I had, what I've gotten rid of, and for where I am now. You know me. You made me. You may not have wanted me to have this, but I got it now. So I need you to fix me. You put me here, then fix me so I can move on. And I need to move on so that I can learn who and what you are to me. That's a big thing. Because some people don't know.
They don't know.
They don't know. They don't know. And it bothers me, the young people of today. You don't see that many young people in church anymore.
Correct.
You don't. And I had one of the students told me the other day, well, Miss Turner, there's no more big mamas. I said, wait a minute, us big mamas are still out here.
Yeah, right.
But y'all are not paying us any mind.
Wow.
Y'all off doing whatever you want to do. Saying and doing whatever you want to do, go wherever you want to go. And you got grandma who's sitting home, or she's sitting in a nursing home. Wow. And I always get a couple of students every semester. Miss Turner, you remind me of my grandmother. I said, okay.
Now, Miss Turner, I'm going to ask you, where can people find your book? If someone wants to invite you to speak, do you speak? Do you speak publicly?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a webpage that I just had upgraded.
Okay.
And I just saw the upgraded page last week. I knew we were going to do it, but I hadn't seen it. And I clicked on it and I was shocked because I love the way it looks.
Okay.
But the book is on Amazon. You can order the book. If you go on my webpage, you can order the book through that. But on my webpage is look, I got to remember what it is now.
No problem. You can tell it to me after, and I'll add it in the post-production.
I'll got to figure, because I think we may have changed a little bit of the wording. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But at where I am at my school, 5 years ago, they gave me a book signing party.
Wow.
And it was really nice. My girlfriend made my cake, just looks like my book. And I have a friend that works at Ashley Stewart, the lady store. She came over and gave out gifts and stuff, and it was really nice. And I've spoken at a couple of different places. I've even spoken at somebody else's church.
Wow.
And I always say cancer is a very bad thing, but it has opened so many doors and avenues for me that I just never would have got there if I hadn't been sick. And I say the same thing about COVID. COVID was a bad thing. It allowed me to work from home and take care of a friend of mine that we've known each other for 64 years who was sick, and he could not take care of himself for the last 6 months of his life. And there I was. So I just think every bad situation, there's something good coming along, and you just got to keep moving.
Keep moving. Keep moving. I have a saying that I say. I got one more question. I'm gonna let you go. I always say, keep your hand on the plow. keep your hand on the plow. And it's an old spiritual,
Yes.
it's old. Slavery time, they would sing that song. And I just you know, I'm here in North Carolina now. I'm from Connecticut, but I'm here in North Carolina. And I've never seen so much land out in these countries. And sometimes I see a guy or someone on a tractor just tilling the land or cutting whatever he's doing. And I'm like, man, that's going to take
so much
forever.
land.
That's
There's
going to
so
take
much
forever. But I understand that he must just feel like, hey, if I just keep my foot on the gas, I'll soon be done. I'll soon be done. And that leads me to ask you, what would your self now, Miss Turner, 78, correct?
And 3/4.
78 3/4, we got you. What would you tell your younger self at any time? What would you tell your younger self?
My younger self, I thought about this a couple of times. One thing is, think about what you do before you do it. Do some financial planning when you are young. And don't wait until you half your life is gone to get your dream that you wanted. Because I wanted to be a nurse since I was 4 years old. I didn't go to school till I was 30 something. So those three things, I look back, you know, the crazy things we did. And that's my prayer every night. Lord, thank you for saving me from all the crazy stuff between the ages of 18 and 35. Thank you. Okay? Because you didn't have to.
Right.
Look, change my way of thinking. And I wish that there were things that I had talked to my mother about and that I would not have ever done if I had talked to her. And when I look at what I did with my daughter, I tried to talk to her, but she's a Scorpio. She got her own little mind, and you know, I tell you, it's a little rough. But I'm so proud of the person she is today, and I always let her know that. Always let her know that. And neither one of us is still be here. Right.
It's a blessing. And I can tell you, I mean, this is a conversation, and they never end. You know, you start to think, and I'm sure you've had conversations with some of your friends when you were going through and even after for hours and hours.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel. But I'm not going to take your time away from you. I know you have a strict schedule that you are on. And when we spoke the other night via text, you said, "Hey," I said, Miss Turner, I'm gonna text you. You say, "I'm going to bed."
Right.
I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because once you hit that insomnia stuff, you realize you have to be on a schedule, else you're not going to get it together. Right. And I try to stay on that schedule, and the music helps me.
Right.
I'm gonna put on my mix after that and get into bed.
Yeah, we got to talk about that because
yes.
I want to know what's in your playlist. I want to know what you got going on over there. You got some good stuff. You know. But I really, really appreciate you. I'm gonna let you have the last word. I really am gonna let you have the last word, Miss Turner. You have blessed us. You have poured out yourself. I feel like, I really do. I feel like this is genuine, and all the guests that come on here are genuine, and that's what it's about. But you've been willing to talk about it. You've been willing to talk about those things. You have a book out, and I encourage everyone to go to Amazon and get that book and look it up, get it, buy it. Oh, there's so much there. I mean, there's so much there. There's so much that she talks about. I didn't want to bring it on. She talks about reconstruction. She talks about the prostheses. And I'm not going to tell you which one she got, but it's in the book. I'm not going to tell you. And she talks about joking with her doctor about that. about what she was going to get and some of the humor, some of the things she said. You would not believe. You would not believe some of the things she said. She just keeping it real, keeping it real. And I feel like that's what you've done here tonight. You kept it real. And I appreciate that. And I know someone is going to be encouraged outside of me, because I've definitely been encouraged to have a conversation with my mom. Like I said, Miss Turner, my mom went through breast cancer over 20 years ago. And I was so afraid that I would lose my mom. I promise you, I distanced myself.
And 20 years ago was very frightening for people. 20 years, just think about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And so I need to contact her tonight, as I do speak to her pretty much every day. And good. I'm gonna apologize to her for distancing myself. And had I not, oh man, I'm gonna let you go. I gotta get you out of here. Miss Turner, you got the last word. We'll talk. We'll stay in touch, and we're gonna do all that. But you have the last word, please.
Well, this has been my first podcast, and I have really enjoyed this. And I thank you for asking me. And I hope that, I don't know who's listening, but I hope that they will listen to what we've said. And the one thing that I wanted to convey in my book is that life does not have to involve having breast cancer. It's life. And there's other things that are going on that you could read my book and pull something out of to help you. It doesn't have to be health-wise. And now with so many mental problems going on, you need to think about it. And you can write a journal. I have 2 pads in my house that sometimes I just write something down on it, and then I'll go back and look at it a couple of days later and then decide what I'm going to do with it, So think about it. There's more than one thing for you to do with your life to keep you moving. And you got to do that. You got to do that. And I hope that my book will help somebody with cancer, but with life. Just life itself. And I'm going to make sure you get in touch with Monty. I'm going to do that.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Miss Turner.
Yeah, Marsha, you would like him.
I would like him, and more importantly, that's what this is about. To bring awareness to the community, regardless, the community, the world. We're bigger than whatever race and things of that nature. We're bigger than that. At the same time, we still give attention to our race. We give attention to it, but we're bigger than that. And so I would definitely want to bring him on. And
he's written a book also. It just came out last year before last.
Oh, wow. So, maybe I'll bring him on my live. I do a live twice a month.
Okay.
Twice a month. Yeah, twice a month I do a live. And it's a lot of work, but we do it twice a month. And so maybe we can talk and bring him on, and that would be great. That would be great, because the men, we need some push.
Yes.
We need some push.
Yes.
So we got here Marsha Turner. She's poured out her heart. I mean, she really has. And I know there's more. 15 pounds. There is only one you.
Yep. It's only one me. Thank you so much for having me. And I hope we can do this again.
Definitely, Miss Turner. I appreciate you. I feel so blessed to be in your presence.